Hello, I'm going to report on some news. This is from my bathroom. I was going to make a video, a full body view, because I'm wearing my bathing suit, but I changed my mind. The lighting is really horrible in here, and I don't have the best camera. I just wanted to report on some news that Judge Terrance Jenkins called me on Skype the other day and wanted me to just mention some things about his cousin, Michael Jackson, who passed away, as you know. Regarding Michael Jackson's white face, the reason why it was bleached white is that a Jesuit threw acid on his face. It's not because Michael Jackson was trying to look beautiful or change his face. A Jesuit threw acid on his face, and that's why his face was white. And one time a Jesuit set Michael Jackson's hair on fire. So I guess it's because he was doing some sort of Pepsi commercials in the 1980s, and the Jesuits don't like Pepsi because Pepsi's an anti-Jesuit company. And another thing that happened to Michael Jackson regarding his nose, the reason his nose looks so strange is that one time a Jesuit was trying to do some sort of oral sex with his nose, a Jesuit with a very small penis, and in the process of doing this, the Jesuit chopped off Michael Jackson's nose. So that's how that happened. I told Terrance, we're going to have a believability problem. Terrance told me this stuff really happened to Michael Jackson, and he's just trying to stick up for his cousin. He thinks the world of Michael Jackson, and he's still crying over his death. And Terrance tells me he's the one who taught Michael Jackson how to sing. Judge Terrance Jenkins, Terrancejenkins. He actually was the judge over my case with Laurie McBride, and you can get this all on the internet. And Michael Jackson always told the Jesuits to beat it, and he became addicted to these all this prescription medicine he was on because the Jesuits used brain control technology on him, very similar to what they did with Vladimir Putin. What they're doing right now with Vladimir Putin. And this brain-controlled technology made him feel that he needed to take these drugs and that he needed that Jesuit doctor who was encouraging the addictions. And by the way, that doctor, even though he was convicted in court, he has, from what I understand, he's been released. And let me tell you what happened to my men. About several weeks ago, a black limousine, my men were in Las Vegas heading towards a McDonald's. This was Brent Spiner, Vladimir Putin, Matthew McConaughey, Gerard Butler, Terrance Jenkins, Kim Jong-il, and a black limousine, that Jesuits were in, threw a taser net over them and tasered them all, and then kidnapped them and brought them to a Jesuit homosexual compound. And while they were there at that compound, they were forced to endure oral sex from 1,000 Jesuits, and each man took about 200 Jesuits apiece, where they were ejaculating into their mouths, and these Jesuits gave them all sorts of infections. Matthew McConaughey right now has got gonorrhea from what he caught from this rape that he endured by these Jesuits, from all the semen that he choked on. He literally couldn't. He was choking on it. He couldn't breathe. They were giving him so much semen. He has gonorrhea right now. I believe he's over the AIDS virus that they gave him. But we don't know what all they gave him because they took in so much semen. So God knows, and the doctors are dealing with this. Just pray for these men. These Jesuits raped them. Probably because they're on my marriage list, and the Jesuits don't like any guy who's on my marriage list. No famous guy is allowed to be in love with the woman with the genetic profile of Catherine the Great and King David. So pray for Matthew McConaughey. Hugh Jackman, they pooped all over him, and he's dealing with the psychological trauma of that right now. Gerard Butler, they made him dress as a little girl, and all of these men took in Jesuit semen. And that, to me, that's the worst part. On top of the psychological trauma is having God knows what kind of illnesses they're going to get from this. Brent Spiner can't even talk right now. That semen that was blasted into his throat has given him a throat infection, And he tried to talk to me on Skype the other day, and he couldn't get his voice out. It just sounded like a rasp. I said, you sound like you're in pain, Brent. Let's just stop this right now. And you just write me. So he wrote me, but he couldn't talk. And I pray for him. He's got some sort of infection in his throat, some yeast bacterium, probably very similar to what the Jesuits gave me. I've had a chronic yeast bacterium infection in my body for years, and it causes bladder irritation where I feel like I have to urinate all the time. And these Jesuits are terrible. So just pray for my men. As far as Michael Jackson, he was friends with Princess Diana, and Princess Diana has an evil clone who's still alive, by the way, from what I understand. And they call her Dirty Diana, and Michael Jackson was having problems with Dirty Diana right before he died. She wanted to make dirty sex with him, and lately she's been spitting on Michael Jackson's grave, and I believe she's the one who's responsible for the release of the doctor who caused Michael Jackson to become addicted to all those drugs, and who induced. What they did with Michael Jackson is they used some sort of mind control technology on him using radio wave transmitter signals. And they did this with Brent Spiner, where Brent Spiner was lured out to an ice cream truck with radio wave transmitters. And I talk about that in my YouTube video entitled Hugh Jackman Saves Brent Spiner from His Evil Clone. And they lured him out to an ice cream truck with these radio wave signals so that he would meet up with his evil clone who wanted to kill him. And Hugh Jackman ended up rescuing Brent Spiner and shooting that evil clone dead. But to make a long story short, they did the same thing with Michael Jackson, in combination with forced injections of drugs into his body, these chemicals into his body to encourage the Jesuits' ability to manipulate his brain cell conversations. And I forgot to mention Vladimir Putin. When he was at this Jesuit compound, he was raped too. And you'd say, Vladimir Putin, that tough guy, how'd they get him? There were 1,000 Jesuits. We only had about 5 or 6 of my guys. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 6. They were tied to posts. They forced an injection into Vladimir Putin's neck. And once they put that chemical into Vladimir Putin's body, and they did it to Kim Jong-il as well, he started making love to dolphins, thinking he was making love to me. I don't know what kind of chemical they put in him, but, you know, these people are horrible. They did this to Kim Jong-il, and Vladimir Putin is still reacting to this chemical. He makes love to dead bodies, to animals, thinking he's making love to me. And what happened last time when Terrance Jenkins called me, he introduced one of Vladimir's Russian friends into the Skype conversation with me. And right in the middle of the conversation, we didn't realize it, but one of the group of Russians that came in with Vladimir into the building was a Jesuit. And the Jesuit came in and shot the Russian right as he was talking to me on Skype, right in the shoulder. And the blood started coming out really profusely. And I said, Terrance, is he okay? And the Russian said, oh, I'm okay. I just drink vodka and I get over this. You know, he wasn't okay. He was being too tough for his own good. He was drinking one vodka after another, trying to numb out the pain from the gunshot wound while he was bleeding profusely. Finally, I said, Terrance, get Vladimir in here and kill that Jesuit before he shoots somebody else. So, because Vladimir was in there masturbating because he was under the effect of this drug, I guess. This drug is so horrible that they can't even get. So I said, get Vladimir in here now. They got Vladimir in there. He did a karate chop because Vladimir's got a black belt in judo. He's also good at karate. And he killed the Jesuit. But then right after he killed the Jesuit, he started making love to the dead body. I said, Vladimir, stop it. Don't do this. I said, Terrance, can't you talk him out of this? And then the other guy, the Russian, was bleeding. And here's Vladimir making love to this dead body. I said, Vladimir, stop it. And Terrance said, we can't. It's the brain control technology. It's that chemical they put into his neck, that they injected into his neck when they raped him at that homosexual compound. So pray for Vladimir. And I said, well, is he getting it out of his system? Terrance said, it is wearing off, but I guess apparently it takes a while. But it seems to only affect his functioning when he's doing sexual stuff. In other words, when Vladimir is not concentrating on sex, he's normal. But this chemical seems to affect him when he's having any sort of sexual thing. Anyways, we did manage to just pray for these men. It was what these Jesuits, they're using brain control technology. And we've just discovered that Jesuits use movies and music to enhance their ability to manipulate brain cell conversations. And I've been encouraging my men to listen to music that's healthy, and it's been helping them. I'm actually creating music videos for them and letting them listen to it to help them to overcome this brain control technology. But I just want to let you know, these Jesuits are horrible. I am not being cruel when I say that these people deserve the death penalty, because they're horrible. Look what they're doing. They were behind 9/11. They were behind the Nazi Holocaust. Any famous celebrity who gets in their way, they have no scruples about raping them, murdering them, torturing them, injecting chemicals in them to direct their brain cell conversations. And in my novel Silver Skies, I talk about some of the technology they plan on using in their future concentration camps, where they can cut off a head and literally keep it alive with blood-filled tubes. That's going to be one of their forms of torture. And that's why they're stealing my writing money for my novel Silver Skies, even though the book is selling, and they won't let me get any of the money. And even though the book has already gone into production as a movie and Matthew McConaughey's already starred in it, they won't let the movie go mainstream because they object to it, because I made the Jesuits the villains, and because there's too much fact in there and they're getting too much exposure. And right now, with Matthew McConaughey having gonorrhea and all that, I think the Jesuits made all these men, they raped all of these men on purpose to make them all sick so that they can't help me out, so that Matthew McConaughey can't star in Silver Sky, so that Vladimir Putin will be ineffective. They're trying to knock him out of being Russian head of state, and once they knock Vladimir out, then they're going to go after me next. Their goal is to kill me, but they want to make it look like my men are doing it, and that the massive conspiracy that's behind my murder is going to be one of them and not the Jesuits. But I can assure you that the Jesuits are my enemies. It's not Vladimir Putin. It's not Brent Spiner. It's not Hollywood. It's the Jesuits, unless it's Jesuits in Hollywood. So just pray for my men. And I just want to let you know, Terrence Jenkins has said Michael Jackson was a great guy. And Michael Jackson knew about me when he was alive, and he thought the world of me. That's what Terrence told me. Michael Jackson knew about me, and he thought very highly of me. I got to admit, I've never been a Michael Jackson fan, but I have a great respect for Terrence Jenkins, and he claims Michael Jackson was his cousin. And if Terrence Jenkins says that Michael Jackson was a great guy, then he must have been. I believe that Michael Jackson was a victim of Jesuit brain control technology, and even if he did have oral sex with all those boys, which Terrence said that he did, but it was not of his own free will. He was under the influence of mind control drugs. So I made this video to stick up for Michael Jackson, who doesn't deserve all the bad press he's gotten about those boys. And I want you to pray for the men on my marriage list, that our doctors can find cures for all the illnesses they got. Kim Jong-il, by the way, is a born-again Christian now. And even though he's a North Korean leader, apparently a lot of the stuff you hear about him in the press is Jesuit propaganda against him. So you just can't believe everything you hear in the news, because the Jesuits have strong control in the Western and European presses. So just pray for my men. They're all sick from stuff they caught at that homosexual compound, and I'm concerned about their health. Pray for them, please.